My husband Marcus came home 10 minutes late. I decisively brought up divorce. Marcus didn't understand. Just 10 minutes late? It was just traffic. I didn't say anything, picking up the phone he had carelessly tossed onto the sofa. The screen was still lit, showing a pinned chat. I swiped open the call history. You said you were working overtime until 9. So at 8:50, who was it in your car telling you, see you tomorrow? He scrambled to snatch the phone. Give me my phone back. I stared at him. And this photo, dining with another woman at a 3-Michelin-star restaurant, do I need to say more? Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Marcus's Adam's apple bobbed violently twice. His attempt to snatch the phone suddenly turned into grabbing my wrist. The grip was so strong it felt like he wanted to crush my bones. You're checking up on me? I shook Marcus's hand off, and the phone hit the coffee table with a thud. I bent down to pick up the phone. Traffic jam that brings out perfume? Or did you install a fragrance system in your car, specifically programmed to emit a rose scent I dislike? Marcus suddenly raised his voice, spitting on my face. Grace, be reasonable. All because of 10 minutes and one measly message? Marcus grabbed the divorce papers and threw them to the floor, the paper rustling loudly. I work myself to death every day to support this family, and you're just bored out of your mind at home, aren't you? The doorbell at the entryway suddenly rang. Marcus's shoulders tensed abruptly, his eyes darting towards the door, and his tone instantly softened. See, it must be the delivery. I ordered your favorite crawfish. I didn't move, staring at the door behind Marcus. The doorbell rang again, more impatiently this time, accompanied by a sweet, feminine voice. It pierced through the door, straight into our ears. Marcus, you forgot your documents. Marcus's face drained of color. He fumbled frantically with his tie. It was as if his throat had been squeezed. Client. Just dropping off some documents on their way. I walked around Marcus to the entryway and looked out through the peephole. A slender waist was wrapped in a red dress, and fingers with sparkling nail polish held a brown paper bag. The pearl earrings on her earlobes sparkled, making my eyes dizzy. They were identical to the pair that went missing on my birthday last year. Open the door, Marcus, she knocked twice more, her voice sickly sweet. You said yesterday about this proposal. When the door lock clicked open, Marcus was still pulling my arm from behind. Grace, don't make a scene. Chloe in the red dress clearly hadn't expected me to open the door, her smile freezing for half a second. But it immediately reappeared, and she craned her neck to peek inside. Is this your wife? So beautiful. She handed over the documents, her fingertips intentionally, yet seemingly unintentionally, brushing against Marcus's hand. Marcus mentioned your wife hasn't been feeling well lately, so I specifically picked up some plum juice on my way. Marcus's Adam's apple bobbed again, and the hand that took the documents trembled. Chloe, that's very thoughtful of you. You should go now. Don't rush, Chloe said, blinking, her gaze sweeping across the living room. It landed precisely on the divorce papers on the coffee table, and she suddenly covered her mouth and chuckled. Your wife, don't misunderstand. Marcus and I are just colleagues. We worked too late yesterday, and Marcus just dropped me off downstairs. He didn't even come inside. Is that so? Then the perfume scent on him when he came home at 3 in the morning, did you spray that in the elevator? Chloe's composure finally broke. She bit her lip and hid behind Marcus. Marcus. Marcus violently pushed me further into the house, his voice deep and hoarse. Grace, that's enough. My phone vibrated in my pocket. T was a message from my best friend, with a photo attached. At 10 last night, Marcus's car was parked outside Chloe's apartment complex. The photo my best friend sent, displayed on the screen, was like a slap across his face, turning his complexion from pale to ashen. Grace, let me explain. Last night, he incoherently tried to grab my hand. The moment I shook him off, Chloe in the entryway suddenly let out a small cry. The plum juice bottle in her hand fell to the ground, splashing her skirt. It's all my fault for being so clumsy. Her eyes reddened, and she leaned closer to Marcus. Marcus, don't argue with your wife. It's my fault. Marcus's attention was indeed diverted. He bent down to help her up. Get out. I stared at Marcus's back, my voice as cold as ice. He turned back sharply, a hint of grievance in his eyes. Grace, after all these years together. It was gone the moment you let her wear my earrings. I turned and walked into the bedroom. As I locked the door, I heard Chloe's soft voice saying, Marcus, I'm going now. Please talk some sense into your wife. For the next 3 days, Marcus was like a different person, coming home on time every day. Grace, I've deleted all her contact information. He held up his phone to show me the blacklist. I've also arranged things at the company, I won't see her again. I looked at the dark circles under his eyes, remembering how he used to say, right after we got married, I'll always make sure you have hot soup. A pang of sadness suddenly hit me. It wasn't until late on the fourth night that his phone vibrated abruptly in the living room. When I went out, wrapping myself in a robe, he was staring blankly at the screen. The contact was saved as Mr. Taylor. But I had seen that number in his call history last week. It differed from Chloe's phone number by only the last digit. Why aren't you answering? I stood behind him, my arms crossed. He fumbled to hang up the phone, knocking over a chair as he asked. Dude. It's a client. Probably something urgent. Why don't you call them back? I raised an eyebrow. He froze, his Adam's apple bobbing before he finally said, it's too late. We can talk tomorrow. At 2 in the morning, the spot beside me was empty. I felt for the phone he'd left on the nightstand. After fingerprint unlocking it, in the WhatsApp chat with Mr. Taylor pinned at the top, the latest message was from half an hour ago. Marcus, I lost the tie clip you gave me. Can you come help me find it? I'm scared alone. The location showed an apartment in West, a 40-minute drive from our home. I gripped the phone and walked to the window. Sure enough, his car was gone from downstairs. My phone vibrated again. It was a video from my best friend. In the surveillance footage, Marcus's car was parked downstairs at that apartment building. As he ran into the building, Chloe was standing at a second-story window, waving at him. I reprinted the divorce papers and signed my name at the end. As the sky outside the window slowly brightened, I heard the sound of a key turning in the entryway. Marcus walked in, reeking of rose perfume. When he saw the papers on the coffee table, his face instantly turned ghastly pale. Grace, He tried to explain, but I cut him off by handing him the earring. She does look better wearing them than I do. I smiled. But I don't like my things, even if lost, being picked up by others. He suddenly knelt on the floor and grabbed my ankle. Give me another chance. Last night, I only went to get some documents. She had a fever, I couldn't just leave her to die. 3 a chance? I kicked away his hand clutching my ankle. When you lied about getting documents at 2 in the morning but were actually going to find her tie clip, you should have known there was no chance. He froze in place, his face paler than paper. Just as I was about to leave, a bank notification for overdue payment popped up on my phone. I frowned and opened it, seeing the glaring words, your property located on XX Road has overdue mortgage payments, and the court will seize it according to law. That was a house I had bought outright before we got married, with only my name on the property deed. I rushed back to the living room and slammed the phone in front of Marcus. What is this about? His eyes darted away, and he hemmed and hawed for a long time before finally squeezing out a sentence. The company's been having cash flow problems lately, so I thought I'd mortgage it to get some funds for a bit. Get some funds? I sneered. Or was it to buy Chloe that apartment with a terrace in West? In the video my best friend sent yesterday, the window Chloe was standing at was from a model unit in that very apartment building. Marcus's face instantly went bloodless. He suddenly scrambled up, trying to snatch the phone, but I dodged him. Grace, I was wrong. But I was doing it for our family. He yelled, his eyes red, once I earn the money, I'll buy the house back immediately. I looked at his contorted face and felt nothing but absurdity. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anymore. I dragged my suitcase and headed out. Marcus screamed my name like a madman from behind. 3 days later was Aunt's son's wedding banquet, which I had already promised to attend. I didn't want relatives to notice anything amiss, so I had no choice but to bite the bullet and go. Just as I arrived at the hotel entrance, Marcus blocked my way. He immediately tried to take my hand. Grace, stop acting up. Come inside with me. I shook off his hand and walked in, my face cold. At the banquet, he acted as if nothing was wrong, going from table to table, raising his wine glass and toasts, telling everyone, Grace and I are doing great. We had a little spat a few days ago, but it's nothing to worry about. Some unsuspecting elders joked, laughing, young couples always argue, don't they? Marcus, you really need to treat Grace well. The family raised such a wonderful daughter to marry you. It wasn't easy. Marcus immediately bowed his head and nodded repeatedly. Of course. I've only ever wanted Grace for my entire life. I sat there, listening to him lie through his teeth. Midway through, he lowered his voice. Grace, for the sake of all these relatives, give me a way out. I'll apologize to you later. Just as I was about to speak, a commotion suddenly erupted at the entrance of the banquet hall. Chloe, wearing a white dress, walked in, her belly slightly rounded. She walked straight towards our table. Marcus, I've been looking for you everywhere. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for everyone around to hear. Marcus's face instantly froze. He forced a calm expression. What are you doing here? Didn't we agree? Chloe suddenly raised her voice, tears immediately welling up. Agreed on what? Agreed that we'd be together once you got divorced? But now you're here, putting on a show of affection with her. What am I to you? The entire room fell silent instantly, all eyes focused on our table. Aunt awkwardly tried to smooth things over. Miss, have you perhaps mistaken someone else for him? I haven't. Chloe pointed at me, her eyes venomous. Marcus and I truly love each other. It's just that Ms. Vance stole him away. I was shaking with anger. I shot up from my seat. What nonsense are you spouting? For the murmurs around us grew louder, people beginning to whisper, so that's how it is. She looked so respectable, who would have thought? My parents suddenly walked in through the doorway. They had been delayed by traffic and arrived late, just in time to witness this scene. My mom's face darkened, and she quickly walked to my side. Who are you, making these wild accusations? You need evidence for what you say. What has my daughter done to you? Seeing my parents, Chloe cried even harder and leaned into Marcus's embrace. Marcus, look, her parents are here. I'm so scared. Marcus, while supporting Chloe, plain to my parents, Mr. David and Mrs. Susan, this is a misunderstanding. She's just. Before he could finish, Chloe suddenly shrieked and staggered back a few steps. She pointed at me, her eyes brimming with tears. Your wife, even if you don't like me, you shouldn't push me. I have a baby in my belly. I hadn't even touched her, but the way people around me looked at me had already changed. Marcus rushed to help her up, turning back to glare at me. Grace, you've gone too far. I was so angry my vision blurred. Just as I was about to argue, someone shoved me hard from behind. I stumbled forward, my forehead hitting the corner of the table. The world spun instantly. Before I fell, I saw a faint, almost imperceptible smile on Chloe's lips. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. My forehead was bandaged, throbbing faintly. On the nightstand beside the bed, there were apples my parents had peeled for me. Just as I reached for one, the hospital room door opened. Marcus and his mom walked in. Eleanor was carrying a thermos. Grace, you're finally awake. Eleanor placed the thermos on the table and took my hand. Marcus told me everything. It's all that Vixen's fault. He's completely cut ties with her now, so please, forgive him this once. Marcus immediately fell to his knees with a thud. He slapped himself, smack. Grace, I'm a scoundrel. I'm a terrible person. I shouldn't have gotten involved with Chloe. Please give me another chance, I promise it won't happen again. He kept talking, slapping himself a few more times, his face quickly turning red. Eleanor was wiping away tears beside him. Grace, look at him. Just forgive him. Our family owes everything to your parents' help. If you divorce him, the Shin family will be ruined. I watched them coldly, saying nothing. Seeing that I was unmoved, Marcus suddenly hugged my leg. Grace, I truly know I was wrong. I've deleted all of Chloe's contact information. I'm also figuring out how to get the house back. Please, trust me one more time, okay? As he was speaking, the hospital room door opened. Chloe walked in, supporting her waist, holding an ultrasound report, her face pale. Marcus, I came to tell you, I really am pregnant. Marcus shot up, his face ghastly pale. You're lying. We didn't. It's true. Chloe handed over the ultrasound report, her eyes welling up with tears. It's already 6 weeks. Marcus, I know this is difficult for you, but this is your child, too. Eleanor snatched the ultrasound report, looked at it for a moment, and her expression suddenly changed. The woman who had been smiling at me moments ago now had a blank expression. Grace, you haven't gotten pregnant in 3 years. Now the Shin family has an heir. You can't possibly expect the Shin family to have no descendants, can you? 5. I was stunned. The person who had just been urging me to forgive him had turned on me in an instant. Eleanor walked to Chloe's side and put an arm around her waist. Good child, you've been through so much. Don't worry, with me here, no one will dare bully you. Chloe gave me a timid glance. Auntie, I didn't mean to. I just love Marcus too much. What's wrong with loving him? Eleanor looked at me with displeasure. Marcus stood between them, looking conflicted. Mom, Grace, please don't do this. Don't do what? Eleanor snapped. Do you want the Shin family to have no descendants? I watched this absurd scene unfold before me, feeling my heart grow utterly cold. Just then, Chloe suddenly clutched her stomach, bending over in pain. Ow! My stomach! Marcus immediately rushed to support her. Chloe, are you okay? I'm fine. Chloe leaned into his arms, speaking weakly. Marcus, I'm not asking for anything, as long as I can just have this baby. If your wife doesn't like me, I can move out. Enough. I pushed myself up to a sitting position, the wound on my forehead aching from the strain. If your family wants an heir, then let's get a divorce. No. Marcus immediately objected. Grace, I can't divorce you. You're the one I love. The hospital room was in an uproar, and my head began to pound. It felt like the wound had reopened, warm liquid trickled down my forehead. I clutched my forehead and told them, both of you, leave. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce. Grace. Marcus still wanted to say something, but Chloe suddenly pushed him away. She ran to the window, opened it, and was about to jump. Since your wife can't tolerate me and the baby, then I'll die, taking the baby with me. Chloe. Marcus quickly rushed over and pulled her back. Don't be foolish. I'm not foolish. Chloe cried. Living is just a burden, I'll only cause you to fight. Eleanor pointed at me, trembling with anger. Grace. Look what you've done. Are you not satisfied until you force mother and child to their deaths? What did the Shin family ever do to you? My head was pounding as if it would explode, and my vision blurred intermittently. Just as I was about to press the panic button to call a nurse, Chloe suddenly shrieked ah, and collapsed to the floor, clutching her stomach. Chloe. Marcus panicked, picked her up, and ran out. Doctor. Doctor. Eleanor also ran out, turning back to curse me before she left. You cold-hearted wretch. The hospital room finally grew quiet. I looked at the bloodstains on the back of my hand and suddenly felt utterly exhausted. Picking up my phone, I dialed my dad's number. Dad, my voice trembled slightly, please withdraw all investments you've made in Marcus's company. Less than half an hour after I hung up the phone, my lawyer arrived at the hospital room. I handed him the evidence that Marcus had secretly mortgaged my premarital property, saying only one thing, follow the rules. Every penny owed must be paid. As soon as the lawyer left, Marcus's call came in. I didn't answer. He called over a dozen times, then finally sent a text message. Grace, the company's account has been froze. Did your dad do something? I looked at the text and smiled, too lazy to even reply. Early the next morning, he burst into the hospital room, with dark circles under his eyes, his shirt as wrinkled as a dried pickle. Grace, can you talk to your dad and have him release the funds? The company is on the verge of collapse. No. I leaned against the headboard, not even bothering to look at him. That was my house before we got married. You had no right to touch it. He suddenly knelt down and grabbed my hand. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have mortgaged your house, and I shouldn't have gotten involved with Chloe. Please give me another chance. Can we start over? Too late. I pulled my hand away. It was too late from the day you let her wear my earrings. He tried to say something else, but his phone rang. It was a debt collector. He retreated, forcing a smile, then turned back at the door. Grace, I truly know I was wrong. Please help me. I ignored him and turned to ask the nurse to change my drip. Within a couple of days, I heard that Chloe had caused a scene at Marcus's company, claiming he had misled her emotionally and owed her money. The two of them were shoving each other in the company hallway, and employees filmed it and posted it online. Eleanor was already furious that Chloe's pregnancy seemed to overshadow her as a mother-in-law, and now she heard Chloe was demanding money from her son. She couldn't catch her breath and simply fainted, ending up in the hospital room next to mine. Marcus was running himself ragged, dealing with employees demanding wages and suppliers demanding payments during the day. At night, he stayed by his mom's hospital bed, having lost a significant amount of weight. He came to see me a few more times, each time presenting different sincerities. One day he said he'd sell the house his parents left him to pay me back. The next, he claimed he had completely cut ties with Chloe. He stood in the hospital room, his messy his eyes deeply sunken. Grace, look at the state I'm in. Isn't this enough to prove my devotion? I was a scoundrel before, completely infatuated. Now I understand everything. Only you truly care about me. Truly care about me? I picked up an apple from the table and slowly peeled it. So truly caring means secretly mortgaging my house to buy an apartment for another woman? Truly caring means lying about working overtime, but actually going on dates with someone else? He was speechless, and it took him a while to finally utter a sentence. I was blinded by infatuation then. And you're sober now? I put the peeled apple into my mouth. Too bad, I don't want it anymore. News from the lawyer came quickly. The court froze all of Marcus's assets, including the car he often drove Chloe around in. His company was forced into liquidation by the court because it couldn't pay its debts, and debt collectors surrounded the entrance every day. On the day Eleanor was discharged from the hospital, Marcus came to see me again. He was wearing a faded t-shirt, his sneakers caked with mud, looking completely different from his former suit and tie self. "Grace, I know I have no right to beg you." He stood at the doorway, his voice terribly hoarse. "But I still want to tell you, I truly regret it. If I could do it all over. 7 All right, no use crying over spilled milk. Besides, we don't have children. Don't you have a ready-made one? Go home and take care of your kid." I left without looking back, leaving him standing there alone. While handling the divorce case, I pulled out all the materials I had collected earlier. My best friend suddenly sent me a message, attaching photos of 2 file folders. "It's been confirmed. Chloe's ultrasound report was fake. There were no records of her in the hospital system, not even registration information." I opened another file. It was my purchase history for the pearl earrings I bought last year. Below it was a screenshot from a supermarket surveillance camera. Chloe, while I was bending down to get milk, reached into my bag and took my jewelry box. So that's how it was. I organized all this into a PDF and anonymously sent it to Marcus's company's shareholder group, and to his family's WhatsApp group back home. At the end, I added, 6 weeks pregnant and she can jump around at a banquet, faking an injury? Good acting. Oh, and those pearl earrings on her ears? The original owner is right here. After sending it, I turned off my phone and continued with my work. The next morning, my best friend sent me a bunch of screenshots. The shareholder group was in an uproar. Someone directly tagged Marcus, "You ruined the company like this and got scammed by a woman like that? Are you blind?" The family group was even more chaotic. All of Marcus's relatives had chimed in. Some said they had suspected Chloe wasn't right from the start, while others cursed Marcus for being heartless, abandoning a good wife like me to get involved with a fraudster. I heard that Chloe's apartment complex was in an uproar. Neighbors would point fingers at her whenever they saw her. Even kids followed her around, shouting, "Money-grubbing mistress." She probably couldn't stay there anymore. As she was packing up to move, Marcus intercepted her downstairs. They had a nasty argument. Marcus accused her of tricking him, and Chloe told him he deserved to go bankrupt. Eventually, the police arrived and separated them. Marcus came to find me again, this time downstairs at my office building. His hair was greasy, his suit wrinkled. He rushed over when he saw me, his eyes bloodshot. "Grace, I know I was wrong. That woman is a fraud. She's been deceiving me from start to finish." I took a step back, avoiding his grasp. "Oh, what does that have to do with me? How can it not concern you?" He stamped his foot in exasperation. "I have nothing left now. My company's gone, my reputation's ruined, and my mom's still in the hospital. Grace, only you can help me." "Me help you?" I chuckled. "Marcus, when you mortgaged my house, when you were with Chloe, why didn't you think about this day?" He froze, his lips trembling. "She must have charmed me then." "Grace, can we start over? I promise I'll treat you better than ever before." "No need." I turned to leave, but he suddenly grabbed my wrist, with astonishing force. "Grace!" His voice was hoarse, tinged with a sob. "Are you really that heartless? After all these years we've been together, you're just going to end it like that?" I shook off his hand, not even bothering to look at him. "Our feelings ended the moment you let her wear my earrings. As for heartless, compared to what you did to me, this is nothing." 8 I entered the office building. As the elevator ascended, the glass reflected his hunched figure, like a drowned stray dog. 2 days later, the lawyer sent a message, saying that Eleanor's attempts to secretly transfer her deposits were frozen by the bank. Along with that, several gray income streams Marcus had hidden under her name were also exposed. I stared at the screen and sneered. This family truly had reaped what you sow, ingrained in their very bones. My best friend suddenly called, her voice trembling with urgency. "Grace, be careful. I was just downstairs at Marcus's company. I overheard him arguing with Chloe, saying he was going to demand an explanation from you." "An explanation?" My hands, which were organizing documents, paused. "He has the nerve to demand an explanation from me?" "It wasn't good," she lowered her voice. "They mentioned something about making you obediently pay up and not daring to pursue further legal action. It sounded like they were planning something malicious. Your dad's bodyguards haven't been withdrawn, have they?" I looked out the window. An unassuming black car was parked in the shade downstairs. My father had insisted on arranging bodyguards. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." I hung up the phone and rubbed my temples. I had thought that by exposing the evidence, this farce would quickly come to an end. I hadn't expected Marcus to be foolish enough to resort to desperate measures. After working late that evening, I headed to the parking garage as usual. Just as I rounded the corner, I caught a glimpse of a red silhouette flashing between two parked cars. Chloe's red dress, I would never forget it, even if I lived to be 100. My steps instinctively slowed, and my fingers found the panic button in my pocket. The bodyguards had given it to me. Pressing it would directly connect to the parking garage security office. Sure enough, Marcus emerged from behind another car. The subservience was gone from his face, replaced by a ruthless glint in his eyes. "Grace, long time no see." I stopped, deliberately raising my voice. "Marcus, shouldn't you be raising money to pay your mom's hospital bills instead of lurking here, waiting for me?" Chloe suddenly lunged from the side, clutching a handkerchief stained with something. "Your wife, please forgive Marcus." I was already prepared. I dodged sideways and pressed the panic button. A piercing alarm instantly blared through the parking garage. Chloe's handkerchief grazed my arm. A pungent chemical smell rushed into my nostrils. "You dare to dodge?" Seeing this, Marcus also went wild, reaching out to grab my hair. He probably forgot that I had trained in self-defense for 3 years in college. My elbow slammed into his ribs. The moment he bent over, I raised my foot and kicked his knee. Marcus cried out and dropped to his knees. Chloe shrieked, still trying to lunge at me. But she was pinned down by 2 men in black who suddenly rushed out. They were the bodyguards, followed by 3 security guards, all holding rubber batons. "Ms. Vance, are you all right?" One of the bodyguards stepped in front of me. I shook my head, watching the 2 struggling on the ground. Chloe's sparkling acrylic nails scraped against the concrete with a grating sound. "Call the police. They're caught red-handed." Marcus was held with his hands twisted behind his back by the security guards, his face pressed to the ground, a guttural, beast-like growl escaping his throat. "Grace, you venomous woman. I'll haunt you even as a ghost." Heh, I crouched down, looking at his dust-smeared face. "Once you're in prison, remember to reform well. And next life, be smarter, don't let someone sell you out and then help them count the money." Chloe suddenly burst into tears, snot and tears smearing her face. "I didn't want to do it. Marcus forced me. He said as long as we got the money, he'd give me half." Marcus turned his head and spat at her. "Bitch. Who was it who said they'd be with me forever back then?" The 2 of them were tearing into each other in the parking garage, making the security guards frown. I stood up, tidying my disheveled shirt. "Let them communicate thoroughly before the police arrive." As I got into the bodyguard's car, I could still see Marcus being dragged by his hair into a corner by the security guards in the rearview mirror. The pallid light of the parking garage made his contorted face look like a cheap mask. I closed my eyes. There was no thrill of revenge in my heart, only the utter exhaustion of complete liberation. The police statement took the entire night. I handed over all the evidence, Marcus's illegal mortgaging of property and Chloe's forged pregnancy test results. My best friend also brought new things overnight, a stack of bank transfer records. "This is evidence of Marcus embezzling company funds," my best friend said, with heavy dark circles under her eyes. I had someone check his private account. Large sums of money were transferred to Chloe every month, totaling just enough to buy that apartment in West. The police officer clicked his tongue in amazement as he held the transfer records. Is this man truly foolish or just pretending? Embezzling public funds to buy a house for the other woman, and he dared to mortgage his wife's premarital property? I didn't speak, watching the dawn break outside the window. The subsequent investigation went more smoothly than expected. The shareholders of Marcus's company had long harbored deep hatred for him and voluntarily provided evidence of his fraudulent accounting. Evan's neighbors from her hometown came forward to testify. They said she had been prone to swindling people out of money since high school. Evan's attending physician secretly reported her, saying the old lady had secretly hidden a bottle of sleeping pills, intending to take the blame for her son. I went on the day the court session began. Marcus was wearing a prison uniform, his head shaved clean, having lost a considerable amount of weight. When he saw me, he suddenly struggled in the defendant's stand, being held down firmly by the bailiffs. "Grace, I was wrong. Save me. I'll never dare to do it again." His voice was as raspy as sandpaper. "I know you still love me. For the sake of our past." The judge rapped his gavel, and he was forced to quiet down, his face smeared with tears and snot. He looked 100 times more pathetic than when he cursed me in the parking garage. Chloe stood next to him, her stomach completely flat, her makeup entirely smudged. She didn't look at me, instead just kept repeatedly bowing her head to the judge, claiming she had been coerced by Marcus. When it was Eleanor's turn to appear in court, the old woman cried so much she almost fainted. She clutched a yellowed family photo, in which Marcus was still a dashing groom in a suit. It's all my fault. I didn't raise my son well. Please, I beg you for leniency. The lawyer whispered to me beside me. Eleanor was implicated in transferring illicit funds and was originally facing a custodial sentence, but due to her severe heart condition, it was commuted to a suspended sentence. I looked at that family photo and suddenly remembered our wedding day. Marcus had said on stage that he would make me the happiest woman in the world. It turned out some promises were false from the moment they were uttered. When the verdict was announced, Marcus suddenly laughed, tears streaming down his face. 8 years. 8 years. He looked at me, and the last flicker of light in his eyes extinguished. Chloe fainted on the spot when she heard she was sentenced to 3 years. Eleanor slumped in her chair, repeatedly muttering, "The family is ruined." As I walked out of the court, the sunlight was a bit glaring. My best friend handed me an iced Americano. "It's all over." I took a sip of coffee. The cool liquid slid down my throat, leaving a slightly bitter aftertaste. Yes, it is. The day after receiving the court's verdict, I hired a moving company. I had all of Marcus's belongings cleared out of the house. His suits, ties, cherished sneakers, and the matching couple's mugs we bought when we got married, piled up downstairs like a small mountain. The old man collecting recyclables looked at the pile of brand-name clothes and clicked his tongue in amazement. "Miss, these are quite new. Are you sure you don't want them?" "No," I said, leaning against the doorframe, watching the workers carry down the last box. "Just give me whatever you think is fair." In the empty living room, only the sofa and bookshelf I had bought before marriage remained. Sunlight streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting clean patches of light on the floor. I opened the window, letting the wind blow away the last trace of Marcus's presence from the room. The lawyer called, saying that after Marcus's assets were auctioned off, there was still some money left after compensating the company and my losses. "Ms. Vance, how do you intend to handle this money?" "Donate it," I said, looking at the sycamore trees outside the window. "Donate it to an anti-domestic violence foundation." After hanging up the phone, I opened my phone's photo album. And deleted all photos related to Marcus. The last one was taken at the beach, with him holding me, smiling radiantly. My finger hovered over the delete key for a moment, then finally pressed it. Some memories just needed to be formatted. 3 months later, my newly opened floral studio had its grand opening. It was in the arts near my home, a small space but filled with my favorite sunflowers and roses. On opening day, my parents and best friend came, and we had a lively ribbon-cutting ceremony. "I never knew you had this talent," my mom said, touching a bouquet of champagne roses, her eyes full of pride. "It's much better than waiting on that ungrateful wretch." I smiled and handed her a glass of juice. I used to revolve around him, but now I can finally do something I love. The studio's business was better than I expected. Most of the customers were young women around my age. They'd complain to me about jerks and share the joy of finding true love. Listening to their stories, my heart felt especially peaceful as I trimmed the flower stems. When I had downtime, I'd travel. I went to Iceland to see the northern, to Nara to feed the deer, and to Morocco to see the blue sea. Everywhere I went, I'd send a postcard to my best friend, and I never thought of Marcus again. Until that afternoon, I was in the studio changing the nutrient solution for the roses when my assistant suddenly rushed over. She had a phone in her hand, looking troubled. "Grace, it's a call from the prison," they said. Marcus requested a family call. The watering can in my hand paused, a rose thorn pricked my fingertip, and a tiny bead of blood seeped out. "Hang up." "Huh?" The assistant looked confused for a moment. "Tell him I'm not his family," I said, tossing the thorny branch into the trash bin. "Don't call again." The assistant nodded and turned to hang up the phone. Sunlight filtered through the glass window, falling on the newly opened champagne roses, their petals edged with a gentle golden rim. I lowered my head and inhaled the floral scent. The prickling sensation on my fingertip was already gone. In the distance, I heard the honking of a delivery truck, and people on the street chatted and laughed. Everything felt vibrant and alive. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a message from my best friend, with a photo of a snow-capped mountain she took in Tibet. I smiled and replied, "So beautiful." When I looked up, I saw a bee buzzing as it collected nectar from a rose. It felt wonderful, these free, brand new days. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.